Right, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Aksa Tariq, the editor-in-chief for the CXO Media Brands in Pakistan, and on behalf of the editorial and conferences team, I'd like to welcome you all to today's CXO Watchtower Fireside Chat. We have with us two very interesting and unique profiles today who we will be featuring and talking about IT governance. And, before I open the floor for the topic that we're really taking a deeper dive into today on rethinking IT governance for agility and innovation. I was just having an offline conversation with Wajahat Sab as well, that the whole concept of IT governance is fairly new, and people or organizations at this point in time may not understand the various functions that it requires to do, or why it's important to build this as in addition to what already exists as the setup for IT teams. Of course, we've all seen, words like innovation, disruption, digital transformation thrown around for the last 5 to 6 years, and COVID has only accelerated all of that. But today, what we want to focus on is IT governance, and both of these gentlemen sitting here with me today have been working in this field. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome both our speakers, Mr. Wajahat Rizvi. He is the head of IT at Hamdard Laboratories, and Bilal Javeri, who works at National Foods Limited. So if we could start off with a brief introduction about yourselves and a little bit about your work portfolio, and then we'll move on to our main topic. So Wajahat Sahab, if we can start from you.
Assalamualaikum. First of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be here in order to share my little thoughts with you. Right now, I'm heading the Hamdard Laboratories IT division as head of IT. Actually, I've been in IT for the last 22 years almost, or having worked in around all the IT domains, from development to DBA and project management. And since I have worked in around all the domains, and from FMCG to healthcare to textile to pharma to IT consulting to oil and gas, I worked in many business verticals. What I have seen during these years, IT is doing a lot since long. They are doing their maximum efforts. IT people do their maximum efforts. But what is lacking in their working is the management, especially from the business side, from the owners, are unable to understand the value that IT delivers to the business. They maintain servers, they maintain IT infrastructure, they maintain network architecture, they maintain ERP systems, and so many things. But most of the times, the value that should be driven and that should be conveyed to the top management, to the owners, that the value IT is delivering to the business, they are unable to convey it appropriately. So there seems to be a gap between the there isn't alignment between IT and business most of the times, and in most of the cases. So there in where IT governance comes in. IT governance is basically aims at the IT organization should be worked in a proper governance way. For example, अगर इसको मैं बताऊं कि इसकी basis क्या होनी चाहिए, तो IT governance mainly focuses on 4 W's: who, what, when, and how. Who will do anything, what to be done, when it to be done, and how it should be done. This is the simplest form of IT governance, simplest definition of IT governance from my perspective.
Thank you for really setting the tone and breaking it down and simplifying it. So Bilal sir, we will hand it over to you to just quickly introduce yourself and tell us about your current work portfolio.
Thank you for having me, Aksa. I've been in the industry for about 11 years now. I started off my significant work experience with IBM as an SAP consultant, working on different projects in Pakistan as well as different countries like Bangladesh, remotely in Canada, the Middle East as well. And after spending some time over there, learning how the different industries work and everything, I moved on to Tapality, where my in-depth career started as an in-house consultant, and the whole digital transformation journey began from there. Currently, I'm at National Foods, and I'm heading the IT governance and PMO function over here. And I think that's about it. We're working towards something that's different, and it's now an industry requirement, and it's becoming more and more popular these days, given from the topic as well of the talk.
So, today, to meet today's need for constant innovation, as both of you sort of also mentioned briefly, IT leaders or people who are in positions like yours, you must take a different approach to IT. You talked about that disconnect between IT and business, and that's where I think IT governance really lies at the center, around flexibility and around agility, without, of course, sacrificing stability and security for the business also. So when one thinks of IT and IS governance, it has the connotation of being slow and putting in more processes, making it a more bureaucratic sort of procedure. Lagega ki zyada hiccups aayenge isme if there are more and more processes to go through, and that can be scary or intimidating for any organization in this day and age of digital transformation, right? Because everybody or everyone needs things to be done at a very fast pace. Acceleration is something that's that's commonly used as a term to expedite things that we're trying to do. So in a time when we need to embrace innovation, how do we do that in a way that governance is not going to slow us down? So if there are any real life examples that you would like to share, and it could be from this organization or any of your past experiences, and we can start with any one of you.
I like to add to that. How given the fact that all the organizations are moving towards more agile and more lean way of doing business, and they'd like to be digital as well, and it's sort of like accelerating the idea to market process as much as they can. When the idea is generated within an organization or from an external source, you just want the product to be there in the market or the service to be there in the market, and it has to go through a lot of things, especially the tech part of it. And once you think of that, and the requirement of organizations today is like they look at the technology function of the department or the company as an enabler. They expect it to be a business driver as well. So how can you have a structured, bureaucratic approach to things when you're looked at and you're looked up to like that? So I think the governance structure within organizations, the IT governance structure, needs to suit the requirements of the business as well. Alignment, alignment between IT and business is a sort of fundamental given. But at the same time, we also need to ensure that we don't cause any hindrance and become obstacles in the path of the business as well. If you have cumbersome and long approval processes and documentation requirements as well. One example I would like to quote over here is that, as a big part of the IT governance framework is to have a proper project management framework as well. And a bureaucratic structured project management framework requires you to have several committees and several approval processes and this and that, and documentation that needs to be approved and has to be compliant of certain standards as well. But these days, there are tons of online collaboration platforms and project management tools that give you that ability to plan projects, collaborate with your teams, and just skip all those monotonous and cumbersome documentations and approvals that you need. When you used to have, like even right now, when you have meetings, you have to have minutes of meetings recorded and then shared with everyone, and everything has to be documented properly for each minute, the venue and everything. Here, you can online collaborate online, and there are discussions and forums online, and automatically everything is on record. You can link it with your online conferences, and even if it's a physical meeting, it just needs to be up there on the platform, and it's a one window solution for everyone to see. So it automatically cuts down on all these processes of जब minutes share होंगे तो उसके ऊपर approval आएगा and everything happens. It's a completely these tools, like for example, are completely transparent. They have a trail of everything that's going on. So you get to focus more on things that are productive rather than things that slow you down.
Absolutely. And so, Wajahat sahab, I'd love to hear from you also on, ek taraf everybody or organizations are demanding that everything needs to be done in a speedy manner. However, on the other side, it's also that you need to commit to deliverables, timelines, everything. So, IT governance का उसमें क्या role और कहाँ fit होता है?
I would like to say, before implementing IT governance in any enterprise, we need to understand the DNA of the enterprise. This is very important. There is a DNA of every enterprise that comprises of 4 factors, in my opinion. Number 1, culture, the culture of the enterprise. Number 2, process. The process are being running in the enterprise. Number 3, IT mindset, that is bureaucratic or flexible or anything. Number 4, IT governance framework. These 4 ingredients are the DNA of any enterprise. We need to understand them first, and then we can easily implement IT governance. For example, let's start from first, culture. Uh, we need to understand the culture of our organization, what the culture is, whether they are compatible and suitable for the IT governance framework implementation or not. Because yes, we have to let our owners and stakeholders understand that this is vital to the organization. Work is being carried out without governance as well, but without governance, maybe the value cannot be delivered to the organization. That's the main purpose of the IT governance framework. It means that when we talk about culture, we need a cultural shift from the current aspect. For example, we are maintaining our IT infrastructure. Okay, that's fine, but we are mainly focusing on risk. There should not be any risk. We have to, our all efforts are in order to mitigate and control the risk. Okay, that's fine. But what is that we need to go forward? We need to go towards delivery of value addition. How to deliver the value to the organization? We are not necessarily to procure servers, hardware, network infrastructure, ERP systems that are vital to the organization. But if any of them is unable to create and deliver value to the organization, then it's not sufficient. Because what stakeholders and owner sees and thinks about investment in IT, yeah, they see that what would be the value impact of this investment. So first of all, we need to understand the culture, and through culture understanding, we have to shift the culture from risk aversion to value delivery. This is number 1 thing. Number 2, processes. We need to understand what the current processes are, and we need to redesign those processes. Mainly IT organization is focused on maintaining the stability of the IT infrastructure. Okay, that's the primary requirement. All the IT infra, software, hardware, ERP system, whether this is SAP or anything else, users should be entertained right in time. Their queries should be entertained. Okay, that's great. It means that we are thinking towards stability. There should be stability in the organization and in the IT infrastructure. Okay, that's great. Stability should be there. But what about agility and innovation? Can we attain agility and innovation through the current processes and through the current culture? I think we can't. We have to redesign something. We have to redesign our processes in order to have stability and agility. That is why now we are today we are thinking how to rethink IT governance. IT governance is already there, but we have to slightly redesign it. We have to slightly rethink about it, how to attain agility and innovation through the IT governance framework. So we have to go out of the box and do some things out of the box and change some basic traditions. And number 3, IT mindset. That's very important. IT mindset is to maintain the IT infrastructure, or to entertain the users' queries, and to entertain the owners' queries. Okay, that's fine. But whether we are IT oriented or business oriented, this is very important, because from an IT leader perspective, we need to change our paradigm. We need to paradigm our mind. We need to change our mindset. Okay, we should not be IT oriented. We should be more business oriented, because the business leaders and the business owners need to run their businesses in the most efficient way, and IT will be used, will be work as a business partner, okay, and will be used as a tool to enhance the business. But technology is there to support the business. Business is not there to support the technology. Okay, so this is why, this is what we need to change the IT mindset as well, to support the business and to align ourselves with the business objectives. The main thing is to align IT objectives, the IT objectives with the business objectives. This is the main thing. If this alignment is not there, so it means we cannot able to implement IT governance there. This is very primary thing.
Two things that I would like to take forward from the insights that both of you shared just now. Bilal sir, you were also talking about, that of course technology allows for that transparency, it allows for that fluidity to, or the agility to run through multiple departments or multiple processes in one go. But when we're talking about that interconnectedness, or when we're talking about that project management, which is broad scoped when it comes to an organization, how do you implement a governance model that uses appropriate guardrails for also risk management? Because that's something that's still recent. A lot of organizations, even large ones, are not thinking about investing in those places yet. However, that is something I'm pretty sure remains a top concern for people like you who are designing those systems. So, we're looking at adaptability, we're looking at speed, but then you also need to make sure that the risk management is also looked into.
I think the key here is to strike a balance, right? There's a line from a famous movie that structures become shackles. So we have to keep structures that support us and not become our own shackles. And I think that one of the main reasons why organizations are not taking a leap forward towards getting basic governance is the fact that there might be feedback, or there might be friction from the business side that this would cause more hindrance and obstacles and elongate the process, and maybe the skill set isn't there as well. So I think if we like Wajahat Saab said, there is a different DNA and culture within each organization. So we need a mindset change, a cultural change to take place within the organizations. And if the IT management starts looking at itself as a profit center rather than a cost center, and of course have the organization has a customer delivery approach, a customer value driven approach, right? And IT no longer is a cost center or something that is a tool based thing. Once IT becomes a customer value deliverer, then that model changes differently. Then your business objectives become your technology objectives as well. Because on one side we have the business that is focusing on delivering as much value to the customer in as little time as possible, and then there's IT coming in with its governance structures, slowing things down. But if our IT management, if a CIO and if our company management starts looking at IT as a business center as well, then that paradigm shift, I think, takes place, where we start focusing on delivering things and helping people deliver things to the market as much as possible. And that mindset change gives rise to, your governance structures being more agile and more leaner as well.
Thank you. And Wajahat, would you like to add on here?
Yes, there are some things as well I would like to share with you. Javeri Saab told very rightly that there should be structural changes in the organization, or there should be value delivery, because in modern IT infra, the modern frameworks are focusing on value delivery. Today we are going to implement ITIL framework in our organizations. We are going to implement COVID framework in our organizations. What's the purpose of that? In just let the IT team and management understand that the main focus should be on value delivery instead of maintaining the software and hardware. That's the basic need, but the outcome should be value delivery. Number one is thing. Number two, in order to implement IT governance, we should go through modular approach. For example, there are some models that need to be implemented in the IT organization to assure accountability. For example, there is one model you all know very well, RACI model, RACI. It means there is an responsibility and accountability model. It means that we need to understand from IT perspective that everyone should be accountable and responsible. It has four dimensions. RACI, R means responsible, A for accountable, C for consulted, and I for informed. In our organization, we have at Hamdard, we have implemented RACI model, and IT team is following the RACI model. So we have assigned responsibilities. We have told them who is responsible and who is accountable, who should be consulted in different scenarios, different situations, and who should be informed. So there is a very clear framework over there, and everyone knows their responsibilities and accountabilities. Because if there isn't any accountability, there isn't any value. So further, uh, as our today's topic is rethinking IT governance. So I would like to add some more things. For example, IT governance is already implemented in any organization in a traditional way. That is what most of the companies are having right now. वैसे तो खैर आईटी गवर्नेंस बहुत ही कम जगहों पर यानी है, और बहुत से लोगों को पता भी नहीं होता कि आईटी गवर्नेंस यानी है क्या. लेकिन in some organizations they have implemented governance in a very good way, but that needs to be remodeled, that needs to be changed. How? Let me tell you. Traditionally, there are four aspects of the general IT governance. For example, number one, doing IT right. IT should do the things in the right way. Okay. Instead, in the modern IT governance framework, it should be replaced at doing IT fast in order to attain innovation and agility. This is what we have to rethink over IT governance. For number two, in traditional IT governance setup and framework, mostly we are focusing on emphasizing on efficiency and safety. Okay, that's fine. There should be efficiency, and the IT infrastructure should be safe and clean. But comparatively, in the modern IT governance framework, it should be replaced by prototyping, iterative development, and rapid delivery. If we want to incorporate, if we want to attain agility and innovation in our organization through IT governance, then this needs to be implemented. This needs to be redesigned and remodeled.
When we're talking
Number
about,
three, yes.
Go ahead, then I'll come to this point. I wanted to just add on something,
Okay.
but
Only 2 points are remaining. Number three is the basic approach is approval based governance. Okay, that's fine. We have to take approvals for every procurement and every IT investment. It should be slightly redesigned and remodeled as in a continuous and process based governance. There should be workflows, there should be processes. So approval should be taken, should be governed through workflows, through automatic processes, not in a traditional way. And last but not the least is the in traditional IT governance model, we focus on price for performance, because for any performance we have to invest price. Okay, we have to invest in hardware incorporation, we have to invest in software development, we have to invest in human resource development, and so on. This is price. If you if the owners and the stakeholders need performance, okay, they need to face cost, they need to invest the price for that. Okay, traditionally it's okay, but in the modern IT governance framework, what should be rethinked and redesigned? Value to the business. Price for performance should be replaced by value to the business. There should be a value delivery. Whatever investment is there, whatever cost is there, whatever requirements are there, but in the end the outcome should be value delivery,
My
delivery of the
next
value. Yes.
on a significant part of governance. You did a lot of I think elaboration on some of the things that I was going to bring up, and that's why I was sort of interrupting also, because that is my next question on a significant part of governance is about maximizing those IT or IS investments, so that of course when we're putting those processes in place, uska ek end result hoga that we need to see within organizations, that whether it's project management tools, whether it's collaborative tools, what value is it bringing to the human resource, what value is it bringing to business, and what value is it bringing to, of course, in monetary and other terms also. So how have you, and if there are any examples, I'd love to hear from you, how have you tackled this within an organization? Because both organizations that you're representing here today, these were organizations that were labeled as the essential businesses that could not afford a day without functioning or without being live. So that's a big challenge when we look back at what COVID has left us with. How did you tackle this within your own organization, and if there are any real life examples that we can all learn from?
Yeah, let me share one real life example with you, and that focuses on innovation and agility. We were using traditional data centers in our organization. Okay, that's okay, and they are performing well, and they are producing the required output as well. They are secured, and they are efficient, and they are doing anything as per requirement. Considering innovation and agility, actually innovation is one of our um, uh, key areas at Hamdard, because apart from IT entire infrastructure, we are supposed to incorporate innovation and business transformation in our organization, and we are working towards that. Recently, Hamdard has become, I think, as far as my little knowledge is concerned, maybe we are the #1 manufacturing company in Karachi, especially, who has adopted smart data center in our organization. Let me elaborate this. A smart data center is a very small and micro data center type example. For example, we have a 42 size rack. That height is around 6 to 7 feet maximum. In a cabinet of 42 size rack equivalent, the entire data center, entire servers, network, and all the network peripherals, including the cooling system, including the power system, all is confined in one small cabinet. That is called a smart data center, a micro data center. So we have incorporated this in our organization. So we have we are going to build a new site, and for that we have incorporated the smart data center. What is the that's not very little cost, that is costly also, that's quite costly, but the value we are going to deliver to our organization, apart from value, the cost is nothing. So that's we have convinced our ownership, our stakeholders that we are going to implement a smart data center in our organization in order to have agility and innovation, and we are going to produce value. We are going to deliver value to our organization. For example, what it will do, we don't have to do any manual working in this model center. We will do only remote access, remote monitoring. Everything is included in a small cabinet. Power is there, AC is cooling system is there. We don't need any external ACs in our data center. No need of ACs. Everything is built in, and that the cooling is also as per international standards. Servers all there. Everything is inside a small rack, and that rack is portable. For example, today we have implemented in Karachi. Tomorrow we can move that portable rack to Lahore, our another branch, or anywhere else without any disturbance to the business, without any hassle. So that's a portable micro data center that we have incorporated in our organization. That's the best example of agility and innovation. And the management has realized, okay, yes, we are going in the right direction, and we got the approval quite easily.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. We'll answer over to you.
Yes, yes. Those are some great initiatives. What I'd like to add is the fact that, technology investments now are not standalone investments, and they can't be judged individually or assessed in silos, right? And they need to be linked with your business success. How well you're performing in the market might seem a little far-fetched in the beginning. How can we directly link your IT investments to service performance or product performance in the market? But the root is there. Technology is now inbuilt and integrated into every business process, from the back office operations to the front end sales as well, right down to retail as well. So the technology investments that you're doing, if you have a market focus to it, then they'll automatically be redistributed among the along the entire supply chain or the retail chain. Let's say, for example, initially a company is very conventional, and it's only investing in hardware and software and infrastructure, and at the forefront in the market, it has no technological presence, right? So if then technology investments are in line with market success, then that technology expenditure might spread over the entire chain. Let's say, for example, we identify that we need a stronger and a more new age retail experience, for example. Then your retail approach might change. Your investment in general trade or conventional marketing channels might change. You might invest more in e-commerce on digital platforms if you have a more market-focused approach. Your sales team might be empowered with a secondary sales solution, more mobile solutions. And so what happens is that your expenditure doesn't necessarily cut down, but it gets redistributed according to your needs and the needs of the hour, right? And once that happens, we look at a complete transformed organization. We look at a management, an IT management that now is far above, operations and tech optimization and vendor management and that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff can be delegated down to managers. What the CIO needs to do now is not get carried away with operational tasks and technical tasks. They need to be more focused in technology as well, and vice versa. Business leaders are now becoming more and more tech savvy. And I think it's only a matter of time before we see a CIO rise up to be a CEO of a company like that as well. We've seen people coming in from supply chain operations and finance, of course, marketing, rising up to CEO positions. But I think the time is now that CIOs would now be drivers of business as well. And what better way in order to lead the company with such tech innovations? So I think that's my opinion on how we should go about integrating technology in the way we do things, and at the same time make our governance process more lean and more agile. Because once the technology presence is there throughout the chain, you don't have sort of a centralized bureaucratic approach. Then each business leader becomes an advocate of that technology, and then they have buy-in from all stakeholders, and things become easier. and it's a more gelled in and coherent approach then.
Definitely. And, some of the things that you talked about are also, when you look at research and when you look at international or global companies that are really focused on IT governance for the last few years. So they have, I think, more of a structured approach than we perhaps do at this point in time. But they've identified these as critical pillars of effective IT governance. Wajahat have also brought in some points that, standalone IT governance is nothing. It's just a framework or it's just a piece of paper, and there's only so much that it can do. But of course, when we're talking about these pillars, it includes leadership, it includes organization, it includes making the right decisions, it includes that flexibility or agility, and of course, scalable processes, allowing or enabling technologies that are introduced within an organization. What are some of the critical pillars that you've been able to sort of really introduce within your organizations or wish to in the near future? Because at least the way I would see it from the outside is that this is still a developing area of work, but I'd love to get enlightened on this.
Definitely, it's still a work in progress, and we are starting off with it. In Pakistan, it's a very interesting mix. You have companies that are still starting off with an ERP journey. They don't even have a standard ERP, and then there are companies who are looking at implementing governance structures and getting big data analysis and going into blockchain and stuff like that. So we have a whole mix of companies over there. So the companies that are doing this are starting off obviously with the traditional governance model. And once they start with that, it's a natural process. They realize that this could be more lean, and we should have less structure and less stage gates for each process that we have. That need triggers another need for a more lean governance model. And I think this is the time where service providers and consultants, they need to capitalize and then serve this need in the market. Because right now they have the need, but they don't know what to do about it. Like if we become COVID 5 compliant or IT compliant, then that we have to follow those guidelines. And if we feel that those guidelines or that structure that is a little too structured for us, what options do we have? What alternatives do we have? We can, the most you can do is make a hybrid governance model. I think that's what in my case, individually at National Foods, what we're doing is, before going on to a structured governance model or getting a proper governance framework implemented with partnership with a vendor or something, we're sort of assessing what level of government or governance do we need actually that's more suited to our way of doing business, our technology appetite, and the culture in our company. So what we're doing is we're developing an in-house governance framework, and that will take bits and pieces from established governance frameworks, and that is something that we're going to start off with. And maybe if the need arises and we're mature in that framework, then we can move on to a more industry standard framework, or maybe by then we have more agile and more hybrid frameworks available in the market that we can look at as well.
Thank you. And Wajahat, would you like to add on to this on any critical aspects of?
Yes, actually, I think the most important thing in everything is that IT should let the stakeholders realize that IT is not a cost center, but a business partner. Because once this realization is clear to all of them, the IT is now a business partner, but not a cost center, then the top management is eagerly able to invest in IT, whether they are going to invest in traditional infrastructure or investing towards IT governance frameworks or towards latest technologies, cloud, IoT, and so on. So first, let them, they should understand that IT is going along with them in order to streamline the businesses, and IT is working in a role of like a business partner. This is very important. Now, actually, at Hamdard, we are now working towards implementing IoT technologies and blockchain as well. That's our latest technologies. Why? Because we have understood the business requirements. we have understood what the business needs are. So we are, through the help of technology, we are going to help the business. The technology is there and we are able to help the business. We are able to streamline the business through technology. So this is what we have to let them understand, that IT is delivering value to the business. IT is delivering value to the organization. IT is not a cost center, and they don't need to invest in IT while thinking that it's a cost center. No, that's the whole thing. And now IT is working as a business partner. We are in the business, and most importantly, IT leadership should think and should communicate in business terminologies instead of technical jargons and technical terminologies like routers and switches and servers, because most of the stakeholders don't understand these terminologies, so they are confused. So we should start communicating in business terms, that these are the investment and this is the ROI that we are going to deliver to the organization, or so many things. So we have to align the IT objectives as much as possible with the business objectives. Once this alignment is completed, so there is no hurdle ahead, and there is no hurdle in implementing the right model of IT governance.
And even for your own role, you are making it sound it much easier than it actually is.
Yeah.
But one thing that I would like to get your comments on is, because we talked about IT being seen as, or being viewed as, the cost center for way too long. But however, I think COVID has really shifted that lens a little bit. We're also looking at, outsourcing has become a major IT strategy or part of IT governance. Also, for many organizations, it does help reduce costs. There are other elements like finding the right talent, developing in-house. And of course, this also focuses on core competencies. It accelerates sometimes your time to market if there's a product which already fits your market needs, right? Or improves innovation or staff augmentation. Is this something that you've also found, or I'd just like to get your views on this from both of you here on outsourcing generally is a broad and complex topic, but we'd like to hear from you on how does this fit in with IT governance, if at all?
Yeah, outsourcing is good for some scenarios, like maintaining the infrastructure through some other vendor, our servers and other IT infra. Yes, they can be easily outsourced. Our ERP, whether it's SAP or anything else, that maintenance and support can be outsourced, but everything should not be outsourced. The IT existing team should be focused on bringing the business challenges. In order, they should be able to find the business challenges and should find their best possible solutions. So they may be outsourced, and they may be might be done through in-house team. It can be evaluated easily and further, but some things, some aspects can be outsourced. But I think the existing IT team should focus on current business requirements and current business challenges, because they are in the business right now, and they can focus them more appropriately, easily, and in an efficient way as compared to some outsourced vendor. So traditional things can be outsourced, but the things that are continued from business perspective, so they should be rather done through in-house. So it would be better, because you have complete control of your internal matters. Or security is also a concern regarding outsourcing, so that needs to be tackled.
Thank you.
You know how as part of lean governance, you also have to streamline IT investments. So this becomes part of that. Just as long ago, people realized that instead of having a complete marketing and branding team on board, you can outsource these things and have Agencies do it entirely for you. Digital marketing, social media marketing, even design entire campaigns for you. The same thing is being reciprocated over here. Once you realize that you don't necessarily have to have that level of control over your resources, and then you can still do business. And in fact, if you're dealing with a purpose-built organization or a company that's dedicated to providing these services, they might be able to do it better than you. Let's say, for example, going on the cloud or co-locating your hardware. The cost of maintaining the data center within your company is something that's significant, and the company that's doing it for you might be hosting, of course, definitely hosting several other companies. So it's their core business, their level of information security, their level of maintenance would be much higher than yours. Same goes for services. If you have an in-house team, let's say developing or consulting for you, you can have the same over there, because then their core business, handling all those people and managing that team and providing that service to you, they might be able to do it better, because your company's core business is your service or your product, and IT is something that's providing service to you, is enabling you. So having that mindset, it's just about what works better for you, and if you streamline this investment aspect as well, then that could lead to a more lean and more streamlined governance process for you as well.
Sorry. So based on this, we also talked about the current state of the level of IT governance, maturity, identified some of the gaps that lie. So this is, of course, the current situation. If I were to ask you, what does the future state of IT governance look like, where you want to be, or always, if there's a certain goal that you've set within your organization also, or larger for the industry also, that this is what it looks like. So I'd love to hear from both of you on this.
As I think last I have mentioned that in order to attain latest technologies and advanced technologies as well in our organization, we have to adopt modular approach. So we have to avoid the traditional frameworks that would be implemented in our organization, and should go towards modular approach, like implementing new governance frameworks like COBIT, ITIL, and RESI model, like through which we would implement SOD. That's basically the segregation of duties. So everyone should know their role exactly, what has to be done, what needs to be done, who will do that, how it has to be done, and when it should be done. So these are the basics ingredients of the IT governance, basic, whether it is traditional or the modern IT governance style. But the main focus should be to the delivery of value to the organization and to the stakeholders. There should be the main focused areas. So this is what we can achieve innovation and agility, incorporate this in our organization through governance. I have shared one example with you as well. So there are so many things we can incorporate that are related to innovation and agility. The traditional setup is to ensure the maintaining of legacy systems, mission critical systems, but it was not able to support the innovation. But through the modern IT governance setup, we can support and incorporate innovation and agility easily in our enterprise.
I think my vision of governance in the future is, I think, all the different types of governance: innovation governance, digital transformation governance, IT governance, all these would be merged into one. And I think it wouldn't be centralized despite being merged. It would be integrated into every aspect of the work we do. Since everything is moving towards automation and digitalization, I envision everything to be digitalized. Everything would be automated, of course. And since everything would be automated, the governance aspect of each of those automation would be inbuilt in each business process that we have. It won't need to be considered separately anymore. Since how we have system compliances, and we don't have to consider them anymore once we have an industry standard solution. Let's say, for example, there's a certain standard that we need to comply to. If you're working manually, then that needs to be implemented manually. But if you're using one of those industry standard solutions, it becomes part of the package, right? So since everything would be digitalized, governance also will be a given and it will be incorporated in each process and part of the package as well. It won't need to be separately considered or separately implemented. Monitoring, control, compliance would be, present in an organization just as internet is these days. So that is something that we won't need to worry about in the future in an ideal scenario. Let's see what happens.
And so I think that really sets the tone for, the execution of IT programs, projects, service management, as you rightly pointed out, delivery through, of course, insourcing and outsourcing, and also facilitates compliance at a larger level, right? Because that remains a core component of what businesses are trying to achieve. And all of these sort of prerequisites will only help to make IT governance more real, and it will help transition enterprises to a higher level of course, efficiency and governance and maturity and effectiveness. So those are just some of the things that I think that highlighting that whether it's the board, whether it's the executive leadership, all of them need to be sort of committed to implementing and sustaining a robust governance environment. I know that sometimes it looks like a longer process, and that's what I've also understood based on examples that you've shared here today. But I guess for people like us who are in the field, doing that homework on educating ourselves on what's going around in different industries, on learning from the past, learning from global examples, and then of course marketing, the IT governance value propositions and what it brings to organizations. Because even if like I was watching this video yesterday and it talked about how everyone is or everything is, everything can be replaced, right? So you and I and all of everyone who's sitting on these comfortable jobs right now can be replaced. However, those systems, once put in place, then leave those legacies, right? It leaves that room for anyone to come in and take on those projects. And I think for organizations, that business first approach still remains as a top priority. I'd just lastly like to ask if there are any closing comments before we wrap up.
Yes, actually, today's CIO's role has significantly changed. So today's CIO's role is not an easy one because they have to consider so many aspects of the business and IT. They have to think like a global leader, considering what's going on globally and what are the global changes right now and regional changes as well. And in that spectrum, they have to transform technology in their organization. They have to consider different aspects, not only just infrastructure, but also information security. That is very important and a very threatening aspect as well. We have to face that challenge, and we are facing that. So information security is a very big aspect. CIOs have to face that and govern that and maintain that. And other than that, compliance is also very important. So all these things, and mainly the one thing is that we call GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. It's a framework. Through that, we have to govern the things, whether it is IT infrastructure or business, and we have to perform security and risk management as well. So it's a combined framework, all the three aspects: governance, risk, and compliance. Most CIOs need to work on this aspect as well, because the role has changed significantly, and we can't only think from an IT perspective, but now we have to start thinking from business perspective as well. And the outcome should be delivery of value to the enterprise. That's it.
Thank you. Absolutely agreed. Bilal, have any closing comment from you?
Yeah, I think I've said about everything that I had on my mind. It's good to hear different perspectives on this topic as well, and Thank you for having us on your platform.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us today. So this brings us to the end of our session today. Once again, thank you to our partner Commtel for this session, and thank you to our speakers, Mr. Wajahat and Mr. Bilal. I'd just like to make one last comment on, of course, IT and IS leaders who are looking at governance strategy. They are centering this around adaptability and innovation, because this is a need for business now. It's not just one department, it's literally what your business relies on now. And that one allows their technology teams to move as fast and change as often as markets demand. I think processes which were earlier like they had a 5-year lifeline, I think it's just become shorter and shorter with COVID, and we want instant results. So this is something that really comes into play, and their roles become more and more important for organizations. But however, they also need this governance model not to sacrifice availability, stability, and security above all. So we hope that this session brought in some great insights for you as it did for us. Thank you everyone for listening. This is Aksa Tarek signing out, and thank you once again to our speakers.
Thank you, Aksa. Thank you, Bilal Saab. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.